Hi everyone, welcome to the Showcontroller basic training today. We're gonna have a look at the Showcontroller laser control software. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them to the chat and I try to answer them immediately so we don't forget them. And yeah, basically what we're gonna do today is a basic training on Showcontroller. So there is a lot of advanced features in Showcontroller, very professional features inside there. We're just gonna probably mention some of them, but we don't dive too deeply into that. This will be in another training, an advanced training session, probably in October, November. But today we're gonna focus on the basics, how to get going with Showcontroller and how to use it for different types of applications. First of all, let me explain to you the different software parts we have in Showcontroller. So we have Pick Edit, we have RealTime, we have Live, Tracer, SVG tool, and the admin tool. So most users probably use the live part of Showcontroller. This is where you can live control the laser, probably with a mobile DJ or in a nightclub or at a wedding reception or something like that. Then we have RealTime, that is the timeline part where you can program a laser show to music or to video. There is also the possibility to add video content. And we have Pick Edit. This is where you can create custom laser content. Because laser content is rather special. It's not like a normal JPEG, but it's a vector-based way of outputting content, and that's why it needs to be created in a special way. Therefore, there is the tool Tracer. This can convert pictures like normal bitmap images to vector-based laser-compatible file structures. And the same is with the SVG tool. SVG is already a vector-based file format, and the SVG tool can convert SVG files, static and animated, to laser-compatible files. The Shownet admin tool is an administration tool where you can administer the mainboard inside your laser. So the Shownet is basically the standard mainboard in all lasers, Laserworld diode series and higher, TARM, RTI, they all have this as standard mainboard inside. So you do not have to have additional external hardware, but normally have these inside the new lasers. They all have it built in, so you don't need to have additional hardware. But of course you can use other hardware. The Shownet is also available as external device, so you can use it with any laser that has ILDA connectors, and this is the external Shownet device. So let's have a look at the different software parts and get going. First of all, let's start up Live, as this is most probably the most commonly used software part of Showcontroller. Let's have a look at the So Showcontroller Live started up, and as you can see, there is a lot of content preset already. Let me walk you through the different areas of the software, different parts of the software, so you get an overview what we're dealing with. So Showcontroller Live, you have the big area where the scenes are located. Scenes are kind of short timeline elements, short content elements that can be animated but can also be static. And as you can see, there is different keys assigned to it. So if I press the respective key on my keyboard, this effect gets played back. We'll have a look at that in a second. Then we have the different banks. Different banks are the ones that contain different content, so you can switch between those banks and call the content. You can also switch by using the F keys on your keyboard and this also allows for switching the backs. We have the option to recolor the content we're just playing back. This is a fancy feature because it allows for quickly adjusting the projection to the color code you probably get from the lighting designer. So if the lighting designer does a nice red, you probably don't want to go with a kind of aggressive different color, but you want to probably match the color of the lighting designer or kind of go along with it. So you go for either red as well or red with white or something like that. And this you can quickly adjust here without having to change the content element, the scene up here. You can make groups of scenes. This is for the advanced training. They can group several scenes together to make one group of scene and call them back later. Then we have the fader bank down here. This is what you can use for adjusting speed, color, strobe with faders. So you can either use a touch screen with Showcontroller Live that works with the faders, but also a MIDI controller or DMX controller to remotely control the Showcontroller Live software. This is what I normally use. I have an Archive Mini and use the faders, just the faders for controlling it, because I like that, just having some faders for proper control, especially like fading effects, speed control and all this. This is what I like to have on a fader, on a physical fader. Then we have the external controls. You probably recognized already that there is a so-called APC overlay. This is due to the whole layout being optimized for the APC40 control. So the whole controls basically represent the APC40. So if you have an APC40, you have the rotary controls, you have the faders, you have the push buttons, and they all more or less correlate to the optics you have here. So with this APC overlay tab, you have different options for controlling the behavior of the laser output, including multi-select, beat mode, and so on. Here you have the speed settings for the beat mode, so you can control how the velocity of the animation is controlled, and this is different options available here. Let's move on to output. Output allows for, if you have a multi-scanner setup, you have the option to specify the output to certain scanners, to certain hardware output devices, and you can also mix match them. And here you can set certain chaser effects to make the output chase between different laser systems. This is also an advanced feature. Just feel free to play with it. It's quite a nice thing to do. Scanner settings, that's an important part. There you can set the scan speed of the laser and different kind of geometric corrections. Settings, there you can select the MIDI devices you want to use. You can use up to 2 MIDI devices, so you can either have kind of a fader device and probably a normal keyboard device that works as well. Then we have ArtNet as a professional feature. You can remote control Showcontroller Live by ArtNet. That's pretty nice and gives a lot of additional functionality. And then we have the Fork tab, where you can specify fork machine DMX addresses for external fork machines that you can remotely control with Showcontroller Live. Because Showcontroller Live can not only receive DMX signals for being remote controlled, but it can also output DMX signals to remote control some basic kind of DMX devices like fog machines, haze machines, probably some strobes, whatever, just some basic things. Because especially for wedding receptions, mobile DJ things, where you probably don't have an additional lighting controller or whatever, just want to do a laser show, it's very handy to just have everything in the software, and then you can configure it here, and on the main window you can just press fog now or fog on off, and you get fog output. It's important to understand that if you want to use DMX output with your laser, you can actually directly get the output from the laser itself. It is connected with LAN cable, with network cable, but it has those DMX connectors at the back side. So if you want to get DMX out of the laser, you have to switch it to DMX out in the admin tool first, because as standard it gets DMX in signal for remotely controlling the software. Why do you have to switch it? Yeah, basically because the DMX connectors at the back of the laser are hardwired to make sure that if there is a power shortage on the laser or any problem with the laser, all other DMX devices in the same chain do not get affected by that, but just can work on, keep on playing. So that's why we do not process the DMX signal inside the laser or inside the main board, but then in this case we have to switch it between in and out, which is not that difficult to do. It's just a switch in the software, and then you can use DMX out. Okay, so let's start up the laser and see how it works. To do so, we have the control center, which gives us control of the whole situation. But in addition to that, we do view, show test pic, and open up the test pictures. We just got a question here. Yeah, I see that there is some of the layout blocked by the video overlay. That was an important information. The part that is blocked by the video overlay is not that important for us now, because we have real-time output, so this should not affect it. If we use those parts, I will check on it in a second and then move the video so we can see it properly. Let's check on the test pictures. Now we have a grid, and you see there is already output because the device has been detected properly. So what we see here, we have device 1. This is the hardware device 1, and it's assigned to content track 1, right? So this is important because if we assign it to content track 2, there is no output because there is no content for track 2. That's why it is content track 1. And we also have the option to assign other content tracks to even hardware that is not accessible. So we have assigned content track 2 and 3 as well. But this is content 1, as we only have one hardware connected. Okay, so this hardware now can be moved around. So as you see, we can move the projection area, we can scale it, we can put the projection basically where we want to have it. I could move it higher up, but there is a setting inside the main board already done that blocks the accession of the main framework. That's why we don't move it higher up now, but I will show you how to adjust that later on. So what we have is, we have a test picture projection. Now we can do some adjustment to the power. So we can limit certain power values. So if we go for red, we can reduce red. For green, we can reduce green. For blue, we can reduce blue. This is for being able to kind of match the colors with other lighting devices or other lasers on stage. So you can balance the white, the shade of white you want to get with the laser. But you can also make sure that also the lasers on stage are all equally in color, because depending on the laser and the laser sources and the balancing of the laser sources, they may have different shades of white, and this is what you can do here. You can also adjust the basic behavior of the threshold. So when the laser should fire up, the laser source should fire up at what voltage. This can be adjusted here as well. You normally don't need to touch that, but these are the possibilities you have here. And you can also adjust the curve, for example, how the linearity of the laser behavior should be. That is more the advanced feature. You normally don't need to adjust that. Also, multicolor setup and color mapping are two tabs that are normally not required. They are mainly made for high-end laser systems that have more than 3 color sources inside, and there you need to adjust the multicolor setup and the behavior of the multicolor the multi-sources, but this is not relevant to you. What is very important and very interesting is the safety zone. The safety zone basically allows for reducing the power of the laser in a certain area. So what we have in Showcontroller, and I like that feature very much, is a horizontal intensity zone. So there is a horizontal reduction of power, and you can move that and you see it reduces the power, but it's not only a harsh cut, but you can make a so-called kind of transition zone where here is fully dimmed power, here is full power, and this is the transition between reduced and full power. So you have kind of a transition. It's not a harsh cut, which is quite nice as it looks better when you're doing a show. You can also make a zone, a small zone, for example, for blocking out a video projector or a camera when you're doing a show, because if you hit the laser full power into a camera or video projector, it might get destroyed. That's why it makes sense to block out cameras or other sensitive areas with these zones, and you can reduce power to 0, for example, and then can move around the zone, and you see the zone is already blocked out accordingly. We can reduce the smooth zone, so it's a harsh cut, and you see that area is not played back with a laser. Okay, let's just move that to full intensity again, so we see what we are doing afterwards. Another tab is ArtNet. This is an advanced feature. You can also remote control software by ArtNet, as I said before, but this is more advanced. I don't deal with that today. But what we did now is we did basic setup. We could invert X and Y axis here if we wanted to. We can just check that with the test picture if it's upright or not, and we could invert X and Y here, but we don't need that because it's already upright, and that's fine for us. So we can close that and have a look how it looks like to play back some laser stuff. So by using my keyboard here, I can just use different keys and play back the content that is assigned to the specific key and its output through the laser. I can apply the colors, and I can also control the speed. I can even completely stop the output here. So it's pretty straightforward. You just open it up, you press laser on, and you get going, and that's it. So it's very, very easy and intuitive to use. Now if we want to do some content, some custom content, and just want to work with different options, let's have a look at this spiral, because it's quite nice to have these kind of effects, but now we want to make that rotate and add some further effects. If we right click on that pattern, you get a short timeline, and this timeline is now playing. It's just playing back, playing back, playing back. Just close it again and up the speed, because at the moment it wouldn't play back because there is no speed, but I want to apply a rotation effect. So I double click at an area that is empty, and I put rotate Z, for example. And then I click on it and press F. So it goes to the full length. So that is important. So it's the key F on your keyboard. And with this, you can automatically stretch the effect to the full length. And as you can see, the spiral is rotating. Now, we want to add an additional effect. Double click and I put, let's say, RGB event. Again, click on it, press F, and it's the full length, and you see it's nicely colored and colorful, and we have an RGB effect based on it. If I want to make the spiral rotate the other way round, double click on the effect, and I do not start with zero, do not start like this linear, for example, but I do a cosinus. So it's just rotating in a different way, rotating back and forth. And you can also change the direction by making it begin with 1, but ending it at 0, for example. Now it's turning the other way around. What you can see is that we have this effect marked as scanner 1. This is because we can apply different scanners in one scene. So we have one output scanner at the moment, but we could have more, and we could add different content. So if I add different content, I double click on it and I click on trick film, and I click F for the full length, and we now have both outputting to scanner 1. You see the line is down there, and it's outputting to scanner 1 too. If I want to put that to a different scanner, I can select a different target scanner, which is 2 in this case, and it would show on scanner 2. Now let me move the preview windows a bit. So you see the preview down here, and you see in that preview window, you see we have scanner 2 is here, this is scanner 1, and this is scanner 2. So it shows on different scanners, but only scanner 1 outputs, of course. We could add another effect. Again, click, press F, and this one rotates 2. If I wanted to use the output on the second channel, now we see channel 2 rotating. You see that? We can go back to 1, and this is channel 1 outputting. So you see, it's rather easy to create custom content and to apply these effects. There is the option to put effects channels as well. So if we have a look at the first bank, for example, there is some demo on there. If we have like this effect, we could apply an effects scene as well. This one is the strobe scene, for example, and I unlock it and unclick. You see it's marked as strobe. If I click it, it strobes. If I click it again, it doesn't strobe it. And if we have a look, right click to it, we see there is only an effect. There is no content on the timeline, but there is just an effect, and it's marked as an effect scene, and therefore you can activate it in addition to a normal scene and just make it flash or not. Okay, do you have any questions regarding Showcontroller Live from the basic training perspective? Anything that you want to know that is important to you? Just write it to the chat if you want to know. We'll have a look now to the timeline feature. The timeline feature and also creating custom content. I switch off the laser because if this part of the software has switched on laser output, then the other part of the software obviously cannot output at the same time, because that would be a safety issue, because there would be a conflict in output. So if you have output from one software, you cannot have output from the other software at the same time, because of course that would conflict. You would have you could even damage your laser with doing that. So that's why this is blocked. So I just minimize the window and head on to real time. That's a good question, Ben. Ben asked, can these effects be exported to the ShowNet cards? Yes, they can, but this is what we do from the timeline. You know, this is what we do from the timeline now, so that's quite a good transition. This is what we can do from the timeline. If we have the Showcontroller Plus license, we can do that quite easily. So, This is basically the timeline, and it's a bit of rearranged already. I rearranged my effects. Normally the effects are up here for the start, but I rearranged them. You can have a lot of different elements just docked, because everything is dockable now with the latest version of Showcontroller, and you have all the possibilities with having the content here and using it for dragging and dropping. I just leave the preview window in the left bottom corner. I think that's quite good because there you can see everything properly, and we have the preview in the bottom right corner too. So it's I think both should be visible. Let's have a quick run through the different content elements so you understand where the content is located, because there's a lot of content that comes with a Showcontroller already. So what you see, we have different beams and animations that come in the effects section. So currently we are at SFX, but there is also animations, and there is plenty of animations that come with Showcontroller. Plus there is pictures, which is static content, and a lot of static content that comes with Showcontroller too. So you see there is hundreds and thousands of content elements in Showcontroller, and it's so easy to use it. So if you want to use content in Showcontroller, you can just drag it and drop it to the timeline, and that's how it works. Then we can play it back. We hit the black playback button. This is while we're editing, we're using the black button, and it loops, and you see there is the projection. Oh, you can't see probably because it's a bit out of projection area. We have the same control center as we have in Showcontroller Live. It's the same thing here, and we can just move the projection area a bit higher up so you can see it better. Now, as you probably see, it looks pretty similar to what we've just seen in Showcontroller Live. So we have a timeline section that is pretty similar, and it works the same way, more or less. So we have one content element, and then we have effects elements underneath. And these effects elements that come directly under the content element, they apply to the content element straight above. But you can have more content elements, and only the effects that are underneath the specific content element, they apply there. Let me show you that. So we have this nice triangle, and let's just apply an RGB effect to it. Just adjust the length, and you see it applies, and you see the color transitions and everything here. By the way, that's why this software part is called RealTime, because you can have output and you can program at the same time in real time. Now let's put a rotation effect as well. Just drag it to the timeline. You have the option, if you click on it, you have the option to do some tweaks to it from to some settings, but the more detailed settings can be achieved by double clicking on it, and then you have access to all these effects up here. Probably you're wondering why we only have those few effects up here. It's so many more available. So if you double click somewhere in the timeline, you get access to the main effects. And there is even more, as you can see, if you click on more, there is even more you can apply, even drawing custom curves and all that stuff. But this is advanced use of the software. This is what we're dealing with in October, November, when there will be an advanced training session on Showcontroller. But you see there is some basic things. You see the trick film element as well. This is what we had before in live, but it's much easier now as you can drag and drop stuff, but basically it's a trick film that's behind it. We have the option to add single beam stuff, some run text, and we can even put media events, which is videos. So you can put video content, and you can synchronize your shows with the video content and output the video content from Showcontroller directly. So there's a lot of features in there, but let's stick with the basic ones we have up here. like fade in effects and fade out effects. Simply apply them and you see in the preview how it's fading in and fading out. So it's very, very easy to use. By clicking on the effect, you can have some quick tweaks, so you can decide if the fading starts somewhere in the minus range or if it shouldn't start from 0 but from a plus range. So you can adjust a lot here to make that work as you want to have it. If we put an additional content element, we can put it underneath here. And you see it's playing only in the time slot that it's active. And if we put a rotation effect underneath that effect, that event, and it's exactly positioned, the rotation only applies to this content, but not to this, because there is a different content in between. So you see, it's pretty easy to add different effects, channels, and just apply them. See, it's now scaling, zooming in, and yeah, it's pretty easy. So when you start over with doing a show, you probably want to put an audio file first. So this is what you do up here, audio settings. And this is not only about the audio, it's also about what the clock, the internal clock is like. So you cannot only use an audio file as base, but also you can use timecode as base. So if you want to have an internal clock without any audio file, it's just the internal timer from the computer. But you can select a media file. As soon as you select a media file here, the time slot of the total time will be adjusted to the length, the full length of the audio file. And you will have the audio file, the media file, as timecode source. But you can also have a MIDI timecode as timecode source, depending on how you work. So you can even use that in combination with lighting, audio, video, pyro together on a big stage where there is a timecode provided. This can be used with Showcontroller 2. Okay, let's have a look at how easy it is to create custom content here, because we want to create some kind of small drawing and use it in Showcontroller RealTime. To do so, I just minimize the window and we open Pick Edit. Before we do so, I think I just stop the output. If I stop the output here, the output channel on the hardware is available for use in Pick Edit as well. So let's open Pick Edit. And here we have the option to output directly to. As you see, Pick Edit has these 4 views, 4 preview windows, because it allows for 3-dimensional graphics to be designed as well. So you can not only make 2-dimensional, but 3-dimensional graphics, which is nice as you can rotate them and kind of animate them later. But that's for the advanced session. We'll have a look at some basic stuff. So what you can do is you can just draw lines or make some basic graphics. It's just some random graphics. I don't care too much. Just some random graphics, so you understand how we can use that. We can select different points there by doing so, and recolor them, for example, with different colors. And we can mark all active points or make all points inactive. So with I, this is a shortcut I. If I press the key I make them inactive, so I can select them newly and inactive, and put some others with different colors and can color them. Now it's colored and I can use this. I want to use that, but before I want to use it, I want to save it. I save it as PIC file, and I just want to put it to various. I just put like drawing, and if we want to access it now, it's already available. If we go to a basic and then we have various, and you see it's already available here. So we already have it in our picture catalog. So you can directly just use it, drag it to the timeline. But this is not what we want to do now. We want to use the temporary buffer, which is quite a cool tool because you can use it across all parts of Showcontroller to move content back and forth. So what we're doing is we send pic to temp. Now we send this picture to the temporary buffer. And if we move to the timeline, we can right click and make add from temp. What we have now is the content we just created on the timeline, and we can use it here. So I right click and put begin here and end here, and I stop the output in the pic edit. So I can output again here. Doesn't let me output at the moment because it seems to be blocked by pic edit still, but no problem with that. I save it. I save that, save as, test. That's a good question. Ben asked, can you assign the second content to another scanner, or is it set to the one scanner per timeline? That's a good question. We just have a look at that because of course this is possible and you can even do much more. I open that one and you can, something seems to be weird. Let me just reset that. It seems there's let me show you how to put that to different scanners. You can do up to 20 scanners, 20 output channels, which is quite a lot because normally if you have more than, let's say, 10 output channels, you normally wouldn't do that with computer control anymore, but probably go with DMX and stuff like that. But what you can do is, of course, you can select the graphics we just did, put it to the first output track, and this is what we have on the first output track. And then there is, you see it up here, you have E1 to E16 and O1 to O16. Now E means this is the edit part. So this is where you edit the output channel. So we have output channel 1 that we just edited. And we could also go to output channel 2, which is the E2. That will be scanner 2. So what we can do is we can place some content on here. It's not playing back, of course, because we don't play back scanner 2, but I can change it to scanner 2 and we should get playback on scanner 2 then. Doesn't assign it properly, I'm not sure why. So this is scanner 2 then. I just take different pictures, some basic pictures. Probably have to stop it first. Yeah, now it outputs scanner 2. Yeah, I have to stop it first, otherwise it cannot switch between the scanners. So it's scanner 2 now outputting, not scanner 1. Scanner 1 is that's scanner 2. What I can do is I can overlay scanner 1 for programming. So you see, if I put O1, I overlay scanner 1 and I see what's on scanner 1, but I cannot move the content, but I can move the content on scanner 2. And you can do it with other tracks as well. You can also use that content and right click to it and say, okay, I want to copy these items to scanner 3, for example. So what it does, it copies the content to the exact same position on a different scanner, which makes it super easy to use it, because the problem usually is to have it exactly at the same position, but now you can just copy it to the different track and use it from there. And that's quite helpful, because you can kind of ease your programming process. Because often it's the case that you have a certain pattern, certain kind of arrangement of effects that you want to use on different scanners, but just modify it slightly. And that way you can kind of mark a bigger set of effects and content and copy it to several scanners and then modify it individually. It's also possible to see several scanners at the same time. So in this case, this is scanner 1 active and overlay 2, and in this track you see it's also scanner 1, but we can select scanner 3, for example. So this one is scanner 3 and this one is scanner 1, so we can kind of synchronize that while programming. So this is also possible to have several sets, but I normally don't use that. I like it like that more. If you have a look at the laser preview down here, I just put that a bit higher up so you can see it. Let's just move back to track 1. You can see that there is the preview for all scanners, because they are assigned up here. So as we have assigned scanner 2 and 3, they also appear in the preview. If we don't want to have that, we just remove the assignment, even if there is no hardware, and therefore only scanner 1 shows in our preview. Now you have the option to adjust how the preview should look like. So scanner 1 beam show means that you see the beams in the visualization. You can switch that off. And you can also switch off if there's graphics or not. So if we only have beams, you see it's just the beams. You can even adjust that. There is a lot of settings that you can do there. But then you only see the beams and not the graphics, the projection part. So this is what you can adjust with here. If you have a visualization software like Realizer, Depends 2 or Capture, you can also use that with Showcontroller to visualize your content. This is basically that activates the VISC, activates the external preview, and if you have one of these Realizer, Depends or Capture, you can activate it here and it automatically sends the visualizing content to the visualizer. So that's quite nice. So you can not only have the preview here, but visualize it to your stage that you want to use. You can switch it off again here. Now let's have a closer look at how to handle files in PicEdit, for example, as there was the question how the content can be exported to be used with the ShowNet interface, to just export content from here and load it to the ShowNet inside in the laser, so into the main board to be used from there. So let's have a look at PicEdit again, because this is where we can load different content and work with it. What we can do is we can browse the pics in here and load some content like this spiral, for example. I just want to get the spiral. This is the spiral effect. And then I can make save as ILDA. I can save that as ILDA file, and I can use it like, yeah, in this case, I just put like, I put it 0, 0, 1. Yeah, let's just substitute the first file on our SD card. So now I put the ILDA file as 001. And if I wanted to load this file to the ShowNet mainboard, it's quite easy. We just need to stop the laser output, that's important. And then we have this admin tool, the ShowNet admin tool. We open that one and it detects the hardware. Important, all the software output has to be closed, otherwise we cannot access the hardware because of course it's locked. Make sure that you have the latest firmware. This is the currently the latest firmware. You can always get the latest firmware from laser-interface.com. And there you have the option to use the SD card to load content. You see there is already content loaded to the SD card. So this is already the standard content. You can just have a look at what's on there with using the setup mode, and there you can browse through the content. It is flashing, of course, because this is not meant for direct output. This is just for testing and for alignment, but there you can check on which content is on the SD card already. But we want to load fresh content, so we select the folder we want to go to, and this is in that folder. Just select, and only the ILDA file in this folder is selectable. So I select that and I upload it. And you see 001 ILDA has been uploaded. Let's check it. We enable output, and this is 1 on 1, and we get the spiral we just exported, and we see it in the projection. So it's basically directly on there on the ShowNet, on the main board. This is basically the main board of the laser. There is another cool feature as we're just at the admin tool. If you just switch over to the setup values, you have the option to adjust the behavior and the size and the projection zone of the laser inside the laser. So this is not the thing we did in the software now. This is more global. This is the global setting, the global projection setting, and the global safety setting. So let's select another animation. Normally there is on 255, there is a test pattern available. And this test pattern is perfect for adjusting size and projection. So if we adjust the size and we have size 100%, so this is 100% size, and you see it's exceeding the camera area that I'm recording. So you see it's pretty big, and we can reduce it by using the sliders here. And we can also shift it and move it to match my camera in this case. We can even put a safety zone somewhere, so we can even reduce the power here. And if this is stored, everything that outputs to the ShowNet is basically running through those settings. So that's why it's so important. If you do that, this is a global setting, and it will contain all content inside the area you specify here. There is no way you can kind of move out of that area. So this applies to DMX settings as well, DMX control, automatic mode, sound to light mode. These settings apply to all this, so that's a quite powerful mode you have here. If you hit save, the image flashes 3 times. You can do these settings with DMX as well, but this is something I will explain in the session tomorrow when I talk about the Shownet admin tool more in detail. But as you saw, it's pretty easy to export content from PicEdit and just use it on the Shownet admin tool and Shownet basically inside the laser. But you can also export content from the timeline. So if you decide to have some timeline content, I just remove the custom made content but put that triangle there, just a short animation, and I just put a rotation effect to it, nothing special, just a basic rotation. So when running it, it just rotates in a basic way. I just want to zoom it out a bit so the corners and the edges do not get cut off. So in this case, I just want to reduce it to 0.6, so it's a bit smaller. And if I just want to output that, I hit ILDA export fixed PPS, and it just runs through the animation, and that way it compiles the animation to ILDA file format, and you can then use it. It's basically the same procedure. You just save it as ILDA file, and then you can upload it, and that's it, and you can use it with the Shownet. Just important that we have a hardware connected, otherwise it will not output. So in this case, we just had the Shownet admin tool block the hardware. So what we need to do is we need to open the control center once, and when opening the control center, it automatically detects if there is the Shownet present, and then it's connected. Now it gives us the option to export this as ILDA file. It runs through the animation, and you see the position is much higher now than it was before, and gives the option to export as ILDA file. So we can use the same folder than before. Where is it? Yeah, we don't care. We just put it somewhere. Just put it on the desktop. And here it is. ILDA, and this one should be the second one. We just put it 002. We again stop that output. That's okay. And then we move on again back to the admin tool, and then we can load the animation. So the first one was a static, and this one is an animation. And we can load the animation. It takes a bit longer, you see, because it's a bigger file, but then we just load the animation to it. That's it. Go back to admin mode, and then we select 2, output 2, and you see this is what we just animated, and we have it on the SD card, and we can use it from there. So it is that easy. Back to RealTime. Is there anything that you want to know specifically regarding RealTime? Anything that you really want to learn about RealTime, how it works? Or do you just want to play and have a look at the whole thing by yourself? Because it is very easy. It's very straightforward. It's the drag and drop thing basically, and very easy to operate. Any questions from your end? Just post them to the chat. Yeah, so this is it with Showcontroller Basics. This is all the basics we have. There's a lot of advanced features in there, a lot of things you can adjust, a lot of things you can change. I just give you an idea what can be possible or where are further settings hidden. If you double click on a trick film element, you get a lot of animation possibilities, to make the whole projection be modified in a way. There is a built-in morph thing you can put in animations. You have even some scripting possibilities. You can put on sparkle effects and all that. So there's a lot of things that can be assigned to a picture, to a content. And yeah, just have a play and have a look how you can work with all this. So there is a lot of features in there. There is clipping things, there is kind of layers you can put above each other to make the elements below kind of be cut out from the ones above and all this. So a lot of things that are available and that can be done. Good, yeah, that's it from my end regarding the basics of Showcontroller. If you have any questions, just let me know. We have a forum on showcontroller.com as well, but also via email. It's a pretty straightforward thing. The manual is really good, and you can also check on the tutorial videos I made. They are online, available online, and also on the website showcontroller.com. If you want to get a license, obtain a license for Showcontroller, please just get in touch with either your local distribution partner, local dealer, or just shoot a mail to info@laserworld.com to get pricing and further information about Showcontroller and the licensing. Thank you, and have a good day, everybody. Cheers.